Now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the second keynote. And the second keynote will be delivered by Professor Nick Jennings. So I'll introduce him properly and ask him to the stage in a second. Before we do that, let me just address one thought. You see, there are waves and paradigms in information technology and business technology in the development of our industry that are very nice to have, that solve problems, that help us to launch a new era. Internet was such, mobile internet arguably was such, the Internet of Things was such a wave, and now we are heading a little bit towards, artificial intelligence and their applications, and that, in my books, is not like that at all. It is not nice to have. It has become a necessity. Because what we did with the internet, mobile internet, and in particular with the Internet of Things, we have created a connected, Fujitsu would like to call it hyper-connected world. We have created this connected world that is so complex, and it has such a large attack surface to it, that we need machine learning to cope with the issues that we are creating with that environment. So artificial intelligence in my book, and I don't know whether Nick agrees with that or not, but we can disagree in a second because he will be on stage. But artificial intelligence is different. It's not just an opportunity, it's not just a nice to have, it's a real necessity in my books. So I'm very pleased, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce Professor Nick Jennings. He is the Vice Provost of Research at Imperial College of London, where he holds a chair in artificial intelligence in the departments of computing and in electrical and electronic engineering. I suppose this is a somewhat older department. He is international recognized authority in the areas of artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, agent-based computing, and cybersecurity. Today, he is here to discuss the collaborative relationship between humans and machines, and the human-agent collectives called hacks. Here's the meaning of hack. And the science that allows us to reason about the computational and human aspects of these systems, and about the science that is needed to understand and apply these hacks to our world. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm applause to Professor Nick Jennings.
Thank you. I'm obviously more risk-seeking coming over the barrier than coming up the accessibility. Thank you. I'm here today. I'm going to talk about human agent collectives. I'm going to talk about some of the science of human agent collectives, some of the applications of human agent collectives, and then I'm going to end up with a more broad thought about the impact of hacks and artificial intelligence in general on society. So, as has been mentioned, we live in an era of information ubiquity. There are many, many more devices on the planet than there are people now, and sort of that trend is inexorably going forward. These devices provide ever more information. So there are amazing statistics about the amount of information that is generated by these devices, by people, both in our work and at home and as we play. And so sort of we have this real era of information ubiquity. And my contention is, and what I'm going to try and argue today, is that for these sorts of systems and for these sorts of environments, we need new types of computational model to be able to cope with that. And what I'm going to do is talk about a particular project that I was involved with for the last 6 years called ORCID, which is a EPSRC, Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council funded project, where we started to try and address some of these challenges and build applications in these sorts of areas. And the key insight for me is that where you have ever more information, ever more devices, then what we need is the machinery, the computers, to be much more helpful than they have been in the past. So what they need to be able to do They need to be able to bring our digital and our physical worlds together. They need to be able to make smart contributions to the things that are trying to be done at the time. And importantly, they need to be better collaborators with the humans who are working with them. And so for me, sort of some terminology that I'm going to use in this talk to reflect that, I'm going to talk about the notion of intelligent agents. These are bits of software, or in some cases they might be hardware, that are able to act autonomously and take the initiative. And I'm going to talk about human agent collectives, which are that combination of these smart computing computational models together with humans working in a seamless team composed of bits of software, groups of humans to solve particular tasks. This is not a new observation or insight, and in fact, so this is one of the very early papers in artificial intelligence from Licklider that was published in the 1960s about man-computer symbiosis. And once you get past the language of the way that this is written in the 1960s, it's very clearly it's a man-computer symbiosis as opposed to sort of other types of human being which maybe didn't exist in the 1960s in the scientific world. But it really does set out that vision of people working seamlessly together with computers in order to be able to solve problems. And at the time, in the 1960, this was an amazingly foresightful paper and proposition, and something that he carried on throughout his career. So for me, these sorts of systems, and to be able to build these sorts of systems, what we need to be able to look at is a number of distinct characteristics and traits of the system. So the first of these characteristics that you'll see in these systems is the notion of flexible autonomy. So the view that neither the agents and neither the software nor the humans are always in charge. And that sort of power and interplay relationship is not fixed and moreover might change during the course of the interaction and the task problem solving. So humans will act with varying degrees of computer support, the agents will act with varying degrees of human support, and that relationship will vary depending upon the context, so it's something that is not fixed. So we're used to notions of autonomy, computers taking charge of things these days in very complex and sort of high-value operations. So, many of the interactions that go on the stock exchange are now automated. So, sort of automated trading is routine. That's how that sector works. It's based on algorithms, doing trading, following simple rules, and sort of trading billions and billions of pounds every day. So here the agents are very much in charge. The humans would sort of set some high-level objectives for these, but sort of the execution is very much automated. We're increasingly seeing efforts to develop and deploy autonomous vehicles in a whole variety of different contexts. And again, that sort of changes the relationship between sort of the humans and the computers. And that sort of mode of sometimes people being in charge, so sometimes people actually driving it, sometimes the machine being in charge, so where that is taking control, and then sometimes sort of one or other taking back control from those sorts of things. You do, however, need to be careful. We've all seen stories of people who don't work in those sorts of environments very effectively. They will blithely follow their sat-nav into the sea, into very narrow roads, into entirely inappropriate domains. And that's a human just abdicating any form of, or most forms of intelligence to a machine and just blindly following it and not thinking, well, this is getting a bit sandy, or I'm getting a bit close to the water, maybe I ought to engage with this in a better way than just following it straight into the sea. Okay, so sort of that's the first key notion, autonomy and its flexibility. The second key notion that I want to be able to talk about in these systems is the notion of teaming, and to do so in an agile way. So continually establishing and managing collaborations. So I see these sorts of systems in their full generality as being composed of a number of agents, a number of bits of software, a number of humans. They come together to do something for some amount of time and then disband again. So sort of that continual forming and reforming of relationships to solve a particular task. The third key area is the notion of incentives. So in many of these systems, there is not one entity that is controlling everything. So these systems don't operate by bit of the system A dictating to bit of the system B that you ought to do that. Okay, so rarely in these open, complex systems is there that form of control relationship. It is very much more trying to motivate and encourage behaviour by looking at the incentives of the participants rather than trying to dictate from them. And here's a really nice example from The Simpsons. And so sort of what this is about designing and looking at the rewards so that the actions that are encouraged, that follow from naturally following the incentives that have been set in place, generate desirable outcomes. And here the science is about considering what we need to know about humans in order to be able to construct incentives that work in particular contexts. And the fourth key area is about having some accountability over that information and over those devices that are generating it, over the people that are doing their activities. So there is a strong desire, necessity in many cases, to be able to track information veracity and provenance. So really to be able to make sense of where the information is coming from. Some of it will be high quality information that you might have a high degree of trust in its provenance, and that's great. Other bits of the system will not have those characteristics, being very much more uncertain, dubious provenance, and we're going to give examples of all of those in a while. So really thinking about the information infrastructure. So what I'm going to do is take you through three, probably, depending on time, sort of domains where we've taken these human agent collective traits and characteristics and see them for real. So it's fine to sort of talk about them in abstract. For me, it's much more compelling to look around them in terms of how you can actually use them, because I think that brings it to life. So I'm going to talk about disaster response, smart energy systems, and then probably citizen science. So first of those, human agent collectives in disaster response. So one of the joys of working in a university and having this form of funding that we have, so this was long-term funding, assured to do basic research, is that actually we were able to spend quite a lot of time at the beginning speaking with first responders, so people who actually go to disasters and that's their day job, and seeing them in operation for real and in training. And so we spent quite a lot of time working with them to understand how they operate, how they could operate better. So we did this through a number of national and international fora. So what emerged from that was sort of a number of key challenges that they experienced, where the need and the possibilities of smarter computer support working alongside them as a team sort of come to the fore. So how do we locate casualties and resources? How do we allocate resources? How do we deploy our rescue teams? And how do we trust the information gathered? So sort of these were some of the key things that emerged from those studies and analysis of working with them. And so we worked a lot sort of in the project on the Haiti earthquake scenario, because actually it was probably one of the first major disasters where there was an awful lot of information generated and data being available. So sort of all of this this suite of stuff is based on real data that emerged from Haiti that's publicly available. So first thing we want to be able to do, or one of the first things that really sort of happened in Haiti was the idea that actually there was an awful lot of crowdsourced information from volunteers who were on the ground or sort of were willing to spend their time contributing to it. So sort of that involved looking at maps, that involved seeing what was left on the ground, this involved sort of helping. And so there was this real big surge of information available. And so one manifestation of this is in terms of what the situation looks like on the ground. So what you're going to see, we'll start it again in a minute, what you're going to see shortly is a map of Haiti and how it was altered after, or before and after the earthquake. And so what this is OpenStreetMap. So this is kind of an open source version of Google Maps, something like that. And so what happened was, so this is what it looked like. It is a bit dark, but the important bit you're going to see is that's when the earthquake happened. And then these lights are sort of individuals over the rest of the month doing individual updates to the map. Okay, so sort of all the different flashing lights and colours, which I think is probably about what you can see at the moment, is sort of all of these individual updates. And this is the crowd. This is volunteers choosing to spend their time and effort to make sense and to put more details onto the map of Haiti, so that disaster responders had a much better situation to be able to work from. And so they took the OpenStreetMap view from that, which is what it looked like before the earthquake, to that, which is what it looked like at the end of the month. Okay, so think about all those updates that have taken place in order to make that happen. The second big thing that we started to see in Haiti and saw a lot more of subsequently was UAVs, so unmanned autonomous vehicles, providing video and sort of situational awareness of what's going on. So this is sort of an example of a modern UAV. This happens to be over Nepal, because I think the more impressive video of it. And that's the kind of fidelity that you're getting from a modern UAV flying over a disaster site. So sort of real high-level fidelity and understanding of what's going on. The organisation that we worked with was called Rescue Global, so they were our particular sort of partners for this, and these are a charity. These are an amazing group of people. They sort of go to disasters. They try to be the first on the ground. If you think Thunderbirds is not a million miles away from what they are, they go there in their own jets. They've got their own uniforms. They all come self-contained, and they try to set up. They try to set things up before everyone else can get there. They operate on a reasonably standard way of working, which is they have a silver commander, which is their sort of command and control structure on the ground, and then sort of a bronze command, which is individual units going out to respond to it. So that's just important, because I'm going to use that phrasing later on. So the system that we built with them, so this Human Agent Collective, has got two main bits associated with it. So the first is the situational awareness, understanding what is like on the ground, what it's like today. And then, so this has got a number of key components to it. So it's got some crowdsourced data, so that's the maps and that's the other things that we spoke about. We want to be able to classify and summarize the reports that are coming in, some of which may be good, accurate, some of which less so. They want to be able to allocate the UAVs to particular areas to go and figure out what it's like in that area. And then they want to be able to send out UAVs. So sort of that's understanding what the situation is like. And then what they want to be able to do subsequently is, once they've understood the situation, they want to be able to respond to it. So they want to be able to get data from their UAVs. We want to be able to work out where they're going to send out particular teams of bronze responders who are going to go out on the ground, figure out who's going to go where and in what combinations. And what they want to be able to do, and what was really important for them, is they want to be able to track the provenance of their decisions and information, both in real time, so that if their decisions and allocations and understanding the situation is based on something that changes. They want to know what has changed, but also retrospectively they want to be able to go back and audit their decision making and why particular things were done. So there's sort of a number of sub-bits that I'm going to talk about in each of those four. So first of these is a system called Crowd Scanner, which is making sense of crowd reports using human and machine intelligence. So again, this is sort of a combination of getting machines to do more, so more processing, bringing together information, doing some synthesis, doing some fusion, and then humans sort of adding what they know about the broader context to sit on top of that, and then sort of going back and forth. So what this manifests itself in terms of is in terms of that heat map, which I'm going to run as a video in a moment, and you have elements of this interpretation of that heat map, some being done in an automated fashion, some being done with human input to it, and you seamlessly work between those two. So there's some details of the various computing techniques there, but what it looks like is the following. So sort of, we want to be able to create a heat map of where disasters are, so you get lots of different reports coming from the crowd, automatically using AI, machine learning techniques to figure out how you can extrapolate between these reports in order to construct a particular heat map. Then what happens is you get someone on the ground that you trust, so you get an accurate report from an area, and then what you do is you percolate back out from that and sort of work out, you recalibrate where the other, what it means for the things around it. Given the fact that you know for sure, or with a high degree of fidelity, this is what this area looks like. And so again, you would rerun the fusion algorithms, the synthesis algorithms, in order to be able to make sense of that. And what this does is, through that combination of the humans and the machines working together, produce an area, sort of a series of points, which are the circles with question marks in, where there's something interesting worth exploring. And you can sort of click on those and you can figure out, you can't see the details of it here, but that will give you an idea of why this has been highlighted, something that's worth having a look at. Okay, so you can explore that under a number of parameters. We did this for real. We did this in Nepal with Rescue Global after their earthquake. They went in, and what they wanted to do was to be able to figure out where to place water filters within a 50-mile radius of Kathmandu. And so what they did over a weekend was they took some satellite data, some from Planet Labs, and got constructed a crowd to be able to work together and figure out centres of population, what they were telling you, because as you saw from the initial maps, actually the ground truth in these areas is not very clear nor very detailed. So they brought in the OpenStreetMap data and sort of worked out, using our algorithms, where there's likely to be centres of population, how many people are likely to be there, and then predicted where they should put these water filters. And so what they ended up doing was they ended up sort of placing around 12 of these in this area. 8 of them, they said they'd found themselves. We found those 8. We found 4 that they didn't find, and they subsequently went there and actually were very happy that they'd gone there. So they were good 4 choices suggested by our algorithms that have fused together the crowdsourced information and learned from it. And this is sort of, you see this increasingly these days, so sort of in many modern disasters, it's not just the NGOs, the official government organisations who put data out there. Actually getting the crowd to participate in these things is a sort of regular occurrence, and you know, here are some examples about sort of numbers and the distribution around the world of people who helped with the Nepal response. The second element is the flexible multi-UAV coordination. So once you've got to the level of sort of having one UAV and sort of saying, yes, that's a good thing, you can get value from having one of these, you would want to have more than one, as long as you can coordinate them properly, because it gets you more information, quicker over a coverage area. The problem with UAVs at the moment is that in many situations you in fact need one or sometimes two people for each UAV, so that's not a very efficient and effective way to operate in a disaster scenario. And so what we wanted to be able to do is to change that ratio. So to have one person or a small team looking over a team of more than that in terms of UAVs. And again, sort of this is that combination of humans and machines working together. So it can work either way around, but let's start from the humans prioritizing tasks to gather first-hand information. So that's sort of the last map that we have with the question marks on. We then run one of our algorithms, one of our coordination algorithms called MaxSum, and the purpose of this is to make sure that they don't all fly to the single most important thing as they perceive it and sort of leave everything else undone. That needs to be done. You've got a team of UAVs. The team bit is that you coordinate which ones go where. Okay, so you need to be able to coordinate that. Humans then can look at that. They can sort of think, well, actually that bit's not quite right. I'd rather have that one go over there, or if that one's going over there, actually it would be good to fly via that waypoint because I think there's something interesting there. So you sort of have a co-created plan that is how these should respond to it. And so you have machine-generated initial version, human augmentation to it, and then sort of you also have the bit where sometimes the UAVs will, en route to something, will use their algorithms to detect, well, actually I think there's something interesting here, something's worth you, operator, taking a look at this. So you've kind of got that handoff from human to machine to human and back again. And you sort of have that interplay really as a cooperative team. So sort of this is how the interface works. You can sort of pick off individual points and make individual choices as, I definitely want this one to go here, or I definitely want this to behave in that way, or I want a number of them to go to that shaded area. This is what the display looks like. You can sort of see on a separate screen what the feeds are from each of them, and you can sort of go from the UAVs acting largely autonomously, go from here to here, take some pictures when you get there, to sort of very detailed joystick-like control of them if they're trying to do a particularly difficult operation. So again, you have that autonomy bit of going from sorted out self, machine do most of it, to human taking individual control. For all of these things, it's very important, as I said, to be able to track and what decisions are taken as a consequence of what information is available, both for real-time operation and for post-incident analysis. And so we were heavily involved in setting up a W3C, so a World Wide Web Consortium standard in this area called PROV, that is a standard for tracking this information. So all of the system, all of the things we built was underpinned and can track its information in terms of provenance. And you have a number of examples where sort of decisions about which UAVs go where were based upon particular pieces of information or analysis that then subsequently turned out to be inappropriate, and you wanted to go back and sort of roll back those decisions. So sort of that's the sort of one of the project's main demonstrators. What came out of this, or some related work, was around sort of social mobilization. So this is in terms of getting a crowd out there to do something active. So sort of in that first version of the system, a lot of it was the crowd providing or processing information. We wanted to explore, could we go further than that? So we participated in something called the Tag Challenge, which was set up by the US Department of State, and sort of, it's a very simple idea. It was an open competition. Essentially what you had to do was you had to find suspects in 4 or 5 cities around the world, photograph them, upload the image, and then the one who got them quickest or most would win. So here's where the incentives come in. So here we're thinking about, okay, how can we get arbitrary people in 5 cities around the world? So we knew in advance what cities they were. We obviously didn't know who we were looking for to play, to spend some of their time doing something like this. And so what we did was we took, if you won, you got a prize. I think it was $5,000, something like that. And so we said, okay, if we win, then this is our reward structure. So if you actually take the photograph of the person you're being searched for, then you get some reward for that. Okay, you get $500 if you're the person who does it. But in general, in a crowd, your chances of actually being that one person are quite small. And so we wanted to be able to sort of build that up and sort of to encourage more people to participate. And so actually we set up what is largely akin to a pyramid pyramid system at one level, I think you could think of it as. So if you recruited the person who took the photograph, you got some percentage of the money. If you recruited the person who recruited the person who took the photo, you got some other slice of the pie. And then we gave up some money to help build up the team. So that's the reward structure. Here the incentives that we put in place, we chose to do that. That was an engineering design choice. We could have had a different incentive structure, and other teams did indeed have different incentive structures. So, as I said, on the day, we knew in advance that there was going to be someone in Bratislava, Washington DC, London, New York City and Stockholm. That's what we knew in advance. At 8 a.m. Local time, we then got given those photos, and you had to find them. And I have to say, I thought this was impossible. I thought our chances of anyone finding any of these photos was really limited. But to my amazement, we did find some of them, and we started to find some of them quite quickly. And so that's what it looks like. So that's a sort of verified entry. Is we get sent that photos. That's a tick. We've got one of those. So 5 cities. So let's play a bit of audience participation before lunchtime. Who think we got one of these? You raise your hand when a number comes up that you feel comfortable with. Who think we got one? Good. 2? Let me just play how hard this is. We're not going to get to 5, all right? It's an amazingly difficult thing to do, all right? So somebody might start thinking about sticking your hand up. 3. Good. Okay, so that's in fact where we got to. Embarrassingly, we didn't get the one in London, and most close to us. And we also didn't get one in Stockholm. And we won. Okay, so the other teams who participated, the next best, I think the next best was 2, and most of them got 1, and some got none. And so sort of this was very interesting, both from an incentive point of view and sort of from a trust and provenance point of view. Okay, so you would quite believe how much time and effort people were willing to go to try and spoof our system, in fact, and I'm going to talk to you about some of it. But it also relates back to the Haiti system. So sort of, for real, the analysis after the event found that actually there were a significant proportion of reports that were put in via social media that were not very accurate, were very much, a number of them were sort of overplaying the damage in their areas of the number of people there and the damage to that infrastructure. And that's kind of moderately natural human reaction. If you're overplaying what's gone badly in your area, it's more likely you're going to get some response there quicker. So sort of they found that for real in Haiti after the event. We found it in our system, and also sort of in previous work that we've done. So our social mobilization, getting people out, was sort of born out of some earlier work that had gone on in the DARPA Red Balloon Challenge, which some of you may be familiar with. So our social mobilisation was harder because people wandered around the city, right? They didn't just sit on a wall or on a park bench all day. So the fact that you've been in an area in the morning doesn't mean necessarily you don't need to go there again in the afternoon. Okay, but it did start with the Red Balloon Challenge around America, which was fixed, so these balloons didn't move. And so what you have here is a map. So we teamed up with the team at MIT who won this Red Balloon Challenge to do the tag challenge. So what you see here is a map of the US where the blue dots, which I think are visible, are where actually the balloons were, and the red dots were where the MIT team, got reports of sightings of these red balloons. So you will see lots of spurious red dots. You'll also see the one up here, which is someone who asked just a bit geographically challenged because it did say it would be on mainland USA. Okay, so you get lots of spoof ones, and spoofing is a not inconsiderable effort. So this is a real one, okay, but here are some fake ones. Okay, so I don't know if you can see the balloon on that one, but it's there. And these are here. So these are photoshopped. So photoshopped the GPS coordinates and so on. So it's not something you can do easily. Within 2 hours of it being announced, some people had noticed that actually they tended to be held by DARPA officials who were wearing jackets, high-vis jackets like that. So someone either got out their high-vis jacket or went to buy one that looked exactly like that to fake that. Okay, so that's a fake. That's someone who's gone out, bought balloons, bought a jacket, and tried to photograph themselves as part of that. So that's an amazing amount of effort to go to, quite frankly. This is the bit where you have to be really careful about the provenance of where you get your information from. So sort of that's the disaster response stuff. I'm going to talk a bit now about sort of the human agent collectives in smart energy systems, so smart grid future energy systems. So this is again sort of building upon work where you're combining a sensed environment with smart algorithms and wanting the humans to work closely with it. So we've done some work. We instrumented a number of homes around the Southampton area. I used to be at Southampton before I was at Imperial, and this work was done at Southampton. So what we wanted to be able to do was to build a thermal model of the home to sort of be able to figure out leakage rate. We wanted to be able to use local weather predictions in order to work out what temperatures were at the house. And then we wanted to be able to optimize sort of our energy usage to maintain comfort within some sort of idea of budget constraints. So here what we're doing is taking some sensor readings, so some bits of information where you could trust things, using machine learning algorithms to figure out what the leakage rate of your house is, or the house where this is applied. It's not something that comes with a stamp on it, but the idea is that these get learned based upon a simple local sensor. You learn the offset of temperature prediction from sort of a trusted source, so an expert source to what yours looks like at your place, and then you do run an optimization on it. So this is a row of terraced semi-detached and detached houses in Southampton that the university owns, and is sort of the university rents out to staff, visiting staff and students, and lets us experiment with them. And so we developed some swanky houses, not the people. These people a bit as well, but just to be clear. And so here we developed machine learning algorithms that would do this, that would learn from the data what the possibilities were. And the kind of thing that this lets you do then is sort of construct a smart heating controller where you can sort of put on sort of, if you wanted your house at 20 degrees C, then this is what it's going to cost you. Or you can do that in terms of sort of the amount of carbon that it will put in, or you can do it in terms of if you want to spend £1.50 today and that's how much you want to spend on, then this is the temperature at which your house will typically be. So here you're sort of using the machine learning algorithms, combining it with information and sort of presenting it in a much different form to users. So sort of building upon this, we wanted to be able to make broader recommendations around sort of energy use and sort of energy tariffs, and so we sort of constructed what is becoming a spin-out company around Agent Switch, which is using sort of these AI techniques to do predictions for you, where you don't have to understand an awful lot about electricity in order to come up with what is the best deal for you. So we were able to use some very simple, commercially available sensors that we put in houses that were just clamped to the main electricity line and feed in the house, to be able to sort of figure out what was going on within that house, what devices were being used, at what times, and then to be able to make personalised predictions for you. So a spin out of this was actually we were able to sort of identify appliances that were inefficient. So if you have a particularly inefficient fridge, actually we were able to show you that, and we were able to make recommendations that actually if you replace your fridge now, it will pay for itself within 18 months, and then you'll be saving so much. And that's not generic predictions, that's predictions for you in the way that you work, the way that things happen in your house. We wanted to see if we could go even easier than that. And so we wanted to be able to see if we could do sort of home heating advice from what's the minimal set of infrastructure that we can build in a house. And so what we constructed was these things and they're about this big. So think USB stick here. So that's what they look like. What you did, they were sense the temperature of the thermostat. So you put them on your thermostat. So it arrives in the post. You press the green button on the top of it. You leave it on top of your thermostat. It will learn about your house, it will learn about the thermal leakage of your house, it will learn about what it thinks your set point temperature is, and will then give you tailored advice to it. So this is one sensor using machine learning techniques in order to be able to do that. And that's then the sort of kind of output. You can sort of make predictions about how leaky your house is, where you set the temperature, what your set point temperature is. It's not reading these things, it's learning these things from the data. And that's something that they've got spun out into a company last year, and then acquired by QB. And we use this working with an energy charity, Centre for Sustainable Energy, who go into people who are in fuel poverty and have discussions with them. And their sort of standard MO of working is that they would go in and ask questions to these folk who, in general, didn't know the answers to many of the things that they were asking about, because most of us, frankly, don't know the answers to questions about our energy usage and what tariffs we're on and how we use it. And so actually what they did is they then sent these a week in advance. They plugged them in, and actually they could then have a very different conversation with people involved. So the final application area I want to talk about is citizen science, and then I'll talk more generally about AI. So sort of here we've used human agent collectives in two sort of applications, one of which, if you're at all interested in citizen science, you will probably know, which is Galaxy Zoo, which is the top one. The other one, unless you live in the Southampton New Forest area, you may not. You may be less familiar with it. So Galaxy Zoo, probably the best well-known crowdsourced system that there is. It's about classifying galaxies, so you kind of get presented with something like this, and then you get asked, does this star have any transient features? And you sort of do yes or no. You go, that's not the first thing that appears when you log on day one. You sort of you build up to that. So sort of, this is someone who's been at it for a while, reasonably knows what they're doing. But it's that kind of thing. You get presented with a photo and sort of you get asked a yes, no question about it. And it's had millions of users have used it, and they've found some really interesting stuff. And so our connection with them is could we make that machinery, which is quite dumb at the moment, a bit smarter? So there's at present sort of the computing know-how is about rendering an image and about figuring out whether they typed yes or no and then sort of storing that in the database. And we thought, well, we can do better than that. So the first thing that we were able to do is sort of using some of these AI machine learning techniques is we were able to end up with better ways of combining their answers. So the way that Galaxy Zoo works is it builds up confidence in a particular phenomena, essentially by asking lots of different people to get the same question, and then sort of figuring out how to combine the multiple answers to something that they give an opinion. And so there are many ways that you can do that. So, the simple way that Galaxy Zoo did it initially was just a simple vote. So, 5 people said that this phenomenon was present, and 4 people wouldn't. It would say yes, is there, because 5 is bigger than 4. There are things that you can do that are better than that, and so we start to use some of our advanced techniques where actually you could use sort of reputations of people and sort of an understanding of, in this classification universe, not everyone is equal, right? So some are better than others, and so sort of, making everyone equal, which is essentially what a vote is you can do better than that, and you can end up with much better classifications by being smarter about what you learn about who's good and who's bad at these sorts of things. But also what you can do is you can sort of characterize behavior and people types out of these volunteers. So you can draw classifications from people as to what are they good at this? So some people are frankly not very good at this despite going through the training. Others are good at it. Some are sort of overly optimistic. They keep seeing things that are there that are interesting, and others are pessimistic and keep not finding things that are there. But once you know what someone is, then sort of in their classification, then you can start using that to shape the sorts of things that you give them, and also to help with training of them by sort of pairing them up. Interestingly enough, you can sort of track volunteer behaviour over time in a session. So you can kind of see when someone is good, and then is bored/distracted, and then sort of their performance dips. And so then you can do an intervention where you give them something different to look at for a bit and then sort of take them back. And so you can sort of get much better performance by making the machinery and the humans working together a bit smarter. So sort of that was Galaxy Zoo. The sort of combination of the Galaxy Zoo stuff and some of the social mobilization stuff was work that we did looking for an endangered species. The endangered species in this case is the New Forest cicada. That's a picture of a New Forest cicada. It's the only native cicada in the UK. It exists in the New Forest, which, for those outside the UK, is the forest near Southampton, convenient enough, so in the south of England. Last seen in 1992. Is it extinct? ? So it's important. It's sort of on lists of. It's important by UK standards, apparently. So they would like to care whether it is really there or whether they can find it. One of the interesting things about the New Forest cicada is, in general, people can't hear it, especially the kind of people like me who are in this room. If you're younger, you're good at, you can hear these things, but as you get increasingly older, and in my case, increasingly grey haired, it gets increasingly difficult to do. So it's hard for humans, fantastic for mobile phones. So mobile phone mic will pick these things up really well, really clearly, and so you can sort of put the detection algorithm on the mobile phone. So we built an app, iOS and Android, and sort of you can then sort of stand in an area and sort of click the cicada, and sort of it will do an analysis of what it can hear to figure out if one's there. So If you're familiar with Shazam for music, you know, this is kind of it for war. And we've made it a bit more interesting because in general, and there is no big punchline to this, in general, you know, the answer is the New Forest cicada there is, you know, overwhelmingly no. In fact, in every single case we've done so far is no, which is not very engaging in terms of incentives. And so we added some other bits to it, so that at least some people found something, even if it wasn't the New Forest cicada. So it's that same idea. So it's again incentivizing the crowd, using smart machinery to be able to make sense of it. We have not found the blessed thing yet, so it may or may not be extinct. Well, so we're still looking. You tend to go in the summer because that's its breeding season, which is when it makes all these sounds. So we're still looking. So let me sort of broaden out, sort of in the final bits of my talk, to talk about sort of more broadly about AI and society. So AI in the movies is that I'm guessing most of you will have seen sort of AI in the movies. I tried to look for one that actually portrays AI in a moderately positive way. Actually, I couldn't find one, which also tells you something else. So you know, so AI in the movies is, you know, very pervasive, very powerful, fantastic thing to be able to do. Some very eminent people are very vexed at the moment about sort of what AI might do to them. So, you know, as Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking sort of with their views on that AI is something that we should care about. AI is not something magical that is not deployed. It's, you know, there are examples of AI applications out there already. So, you know, if you use Siri or Cortana or something like that on your mobile, to speaking to your mobile phone, that's using AI. If you use recommendation sites like Amazon, sort of where it says, you know, people like you might be interested in these sorts of things, that's a sort of simple form of AI. You get robotic hoovers these days and sort of AI in games. So sort of AI is not something that's distant in the future, it's here now. And I wanted to pick up on the point I was asked to say a bit about sort of what AI might do for sort of future employment and jobs. And, you know, there's lots of, as was alluded to, sort of very scary predictions about what AI might do to us in terms of sort of employment possibilities. So a number of books have been written on this. So sort of, for me, some of the most interesting and informative work on this is done by Steve Osborne and a colleague in Oxford. And what they did was they sort of took from a large data set a number of different job titles and sort of looked at the key facets that are required to do that job in terms of sort of how important persuasion is in it, how important it is to come up with original solutions, social perceptiveness, and sort of understanding of fine art. So there are a series of sort of dimensions on which they rated all of these jobs, and then what they were able to do is sort of take those and sort of put them through some, ironically enough, AI and machine learning algorithms to come up with some predictions into the future about sort of what's the likelihood of these things being computerized, and they sort of come up with some jobs have quite a low chance of being computerized, so this might please many of you. So sort of what have we got up here? Management, business and finance. That's quite good. It's got quite a low probability of being computerized away. You'll be happy to know. Computer engineering and science. Again, sort of that's over here. That's good. Other areas have got quite a high chance of being computerized and sort of taken away over time. And sort of they took this data and sort of did some trend analysis. This was done by Deloitte, yeah. So sort of looked at the number of jobs being created and sort of in general there was a good correlation between sort of jobs that have been created over this period, and this is UK data from sort of 2000 to 2015, it tended to correlate reasonably well with sort of those categories where there was a low chance of being automated away, and sort of other sectors of the economy where sort of employment is going down, sort of that was sort of that was correlated with low likelihood of being automated. So the things that the machines struggle to do today are sort of characterised, I think, around things like around the broad area of creativity and sort of exhibiting some degree of social intelligence. So sort of AI software is very good at some things. It's very good at playing Go, it's very good at playing chess, it's very good at sort of things that are well prescribed. It is not very good at being very creative, nor showing very much in the way of empathy towards people. And so sort of they came up with taking that data and sort of looking at industries that were at high risk, and some of them really are some big numbers here in terms of sort of being automated or more automated away. It's in general the sort of the higher skilled, depending on where you all sit on salary and qualifications that you have, your chance of being automated away is reasonably well correlated with how much you earn and sort of your degree of academic qualification that goes with it. So they're able to do that. There is then the point, and as was made earlier, this is I think the unknown. So throughout history, as new technologies and new ways of working, you can go all the way back to the Industrial Revolution, have sort of come in. People are worried about, is this going to lead to mass unemployment for us all, or for whole sectors of the economy? So I take a reasonably optimistic view on that, as I think absolutely some jobs will be automated away by AI. I think my guess, and it is a guess because no one knows, is that I think there will be a roughly comparable number of new jobs that get created as a consequence of this. So jobs that don't currently exist, that involve, for me, that will involve sort of humans and people working together in order to be able to sort of do new things that are just not done now. So my best guess is that I don't think large swathes of society are going to be without a job. I don't think things like the universal wage that will have been suggested as a way of making sure that everyone has a decent standard of living are required, because I think still most of society in Western countries are going to be end up being employed. So finally, to wrap up, I've tried to sort of state a few things. So sort of three main things I want to talk about. So rises in data availability, processing power, sensors have let us solve problems that we couldn't previously do. So sort of building AI software that is impressive at narrowly defined tasks is sort of where the state of the art and state of the science is. So sort of it's good at very narrow things. And this then leads people like Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking and others to sort of, to my mind, make an extrapolation is that yes, you can do this really well. Therefore, artificial general intelligence, which is sort of the AI from the movies, is some short distance away. And my response to that, my feeling on that, is that actually artificial general intelligence is radically different from being good in a narrowly defined area. And I would contend that we don't yet know how to build AGI systems. I think it's absolutely worth starting a debate about the ethics and societal implications, should that ever come to pass, and ensuring appropriate safeguards and public engagement are in place. But I just don't see it happening anytime soon. I think we need new models for the era of information ubiquity, so machines as much smarter problem solvers as the only way to cope with large volumes of information. Agreeing with earlier speaker, it is not, it's not a nice to have, it's the only way that you can cope in a very information-rich environment, and much more capable collaborators. And to do these things, I think the methodology, the way of doing science, has to be about in the wild trials and deployments. It's not only about doing things in labs in nicely constrained circumstances. They have to be about real-world deployments with real users. Thank you very much.